Hello and welcome to this week's Whole Week Costa. For Kev, I'm Jay. Today on our podcast, Whole Week Costa, we're going to be talking about Clone Wars episodes Cloak of Darkness and Lair of Grievous. Cloak of Darkness is the second episode in the cliffhanger from last week. Kev, you want to tell us about Cloak of Darkness?
Yeah, so Cloak of Darkness Episode 9, Season 1. Ahsoka and Jedi Master Luminara escort captured Viceroy Nute Gunray to trial, unaware that Count Dooku has dispatched his deadly apprentice, assassin Ventress, to free the prisoner and eliminate the Jedi. I'm sorry, I usually enjoy reading the descriptions, but I apparently cannot talk today. But this is a good episode. We were still talking a little bit before the podcast. These are basically all good episodes. This one's really good. The second one is an amazing episode, but there's a lot to talk about with this first one as well.
So Ventress is the rule of two for the Sith.
Yeah.
So is she like Dooku's rule of two?
I was wondering about that because I feel like the way that she's talked about initially, it sounds more like she's just some assassin, but then Dooku sort of refers to her as his apprentice. I'm pretty sure in the beginning. Let me look it up right now because I wondered that too, and probably should have looked it up before the episode.
Yeah, because I mean, no one knows. I'm pretty sure at this point, no one knows that there's a Darth Sidious, and even in the movies they talk about like is Doku, the apprentice or is he the master? And then and I'm pretty sure also that Yoda kindly, kind of like remarks like, yeah, Dooku's good, but he's no master. Like he's a politician, if anything.
So this might be why we were confused, because the description from the Wikipedia is various points throughout her life she was a slave, a Jedi Padawan, an assassin of the Sith, a Night Sister, and a bounty hunter. And then it says towards the bottom, she eventually was discovered by a Sith Lord, Count Dooku, and fell under his guidance and tutelage as a dark acolyte and aspiring apprentice. So I guess she's not really an apprentice yet.
Oh, aspiring. Okay, but she's a really cool like character, and she's a good fighter. She's smart, so I like her.
She's a Bioshock splicer. That's what she is. That's what she made me think of. Because she's creepy, the way she moves, kind of the way she looks. So especially the way they introduce her just from the dark, and she battles in this dark ship. Like I feel like I'd like to see her in a more brightly lit area and see if she's as creepy, because she really I really had Bioshock splicer vibes from her.
Yeah, I really feel like people that do listen to this are just gonna go, no, she's dead in season 3, and
oh, he just spoiled it for me.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
I feel like
I didn't watch it. It's like people that listen to
okay,
the podcast are like,
I gotcha.
idiots. Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of that though, because Captain Argyros in this too is like, well, this guy looks like he's going to be something, and then he's dead by the end of the episode. So I feel like we've seen a lot of that already. This is real Game of Thrones Star Wars. But I mean, Argyros was an interesting little story arc. I mean, and I think he has to do with one of the big themes of this episode, or I guess one of the ramifications of this episode. Because I felt like ultimately, I mean, we got the introduction of Ventress, and then this was sort of an Ahsoka character episode. We just learned a little bit more about her, and then the other big important thing was Argyros, as a Senate guard betraying them, because I think it shows Yoda in the end that enemies are all around them and that they can't really trust anyone, and it shows a little bit darker world that I think was implied in the beginning. There's just more intrigue than just a fair war at this point.
But so was he, before Ventress killed him, was the captain of the guard, was he a clone or was he a human? He was a human, right?
He was a human. He was part of the venerable Argyros family, real ancient Rome stuff. That they were. I think he was like a 5th generation, or maybe it was 5th century, that his family was in the Senate Guard. So he's because he says at one point that oh, a clone like you wouldn't understand. So I think it shows a little bit
Right.
of
All
the
right. Yeah.
sort of clone racism in this, and then he comes from an old venerable family, um,
Yeah.
and it
Well, I asked my friend who's basically an expert on Clone Wars and Star Wars at this point. I asked him a couple weeks ago. I was like, "Hey, what happened to the clones after like all the Clone Wars?" He goes, "Oh, most of them died out because they only have a life expectancy of like 10 years." And
oh yeah,
the
because
ones
they
that do,
because they use growth acceleration and stuff.
yeah, he goes, the ones that like survived like past that like became like bounty hunters or like mercenaries, but they mostly all just died out. And I was like, oh, that's really sad.
Yeah. So did you think Argyrus was evil from the start of the episode? He just
No,
had that evil look.
well, I mean, yeah, I guess so because but I didn't think he was like evil, you know.
The other thing I was thinking was how common is it to have um, to have somebody's Padawan with a different Master Jedi?
Probably, probably pretty common. I mean, like in a war, it's probably pretty common. Like, there's things that like Asaka can't do. Like she can't go to like council meetings and she can't do dignitary stuff because she hasn't reached that rank because it's a really rank and file system. It feels like the Jedi. So like it's like Anakin's like, oh, I got to go do this dignitary Jedi council stuff. So go to, you know, someone else is going to really just watch you for these couple of days, and then they get sent like on this mission. She's like, oh, you can learn from me. So, and I think it's kind of advantageous because she gets to learn, different styles and from different masters. Like I'm pretty sure Anakin would have been a completely different Jedi if he had learned from uh, Qui Gon than Obi Wan.
Yeah. So, or the other way I was thinking about it is like in our world, be like, oh, you need to learn more about this aspect of international shipping. So you're gonna follow around Dave for a couple of days, and here, so this is like just part of her orientation.
Yeah, I think it's very very important that they go. I don't know how common it is, but I think it's very important that you go with different mentors.
Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, but I felt like those are sort of the important points of this episode. We see Ahsoka in the interrogation scene. I thought was pretty important because we get these hints of her as almost like an Anakin like character. I mean, it makes sense she's being trained by Anakin because she just has these sort of outbursts and she doesn't always follow the rules and she does things that are not, you know, very much in contrast to say Kit Fisto in the next episode. Where in this case she's interrogating Nute Gunray and just holds the lightsaber up to his throat. I don't know. It was very. Did you watch Attack on Titan? I feel like I probably asked this because I was obsessed with it for a little while.
No, no.
All right. Well, there's the one character there, Levi, who's sort of a badass guy all the way through. He's probably he's probably a lot of people's most like favorite character. But then I feel like in shows you sort of when you have an interrogation scene like this, you really learn a different aspect of the character because it's like when the character has 100% of the power, how do they act? And I think my view of Levi and Attack on Titan changed a lot because there's a scene where they're sort of on the run and he's interrogating a guard soldier and just like mutilates him basically to get the information out of him. And here with Ahsoka, I mean, she doesn't go that far because it's not that dark of a show, but you kind of get the sense she might have like she had no issue threatening him. One slip, she kills him. I mean, so she's and a little more Anakin like that, I think, or at least there's a lot of hints that she's in that direction.
Yeah, there's a show. Well, I mean, studies have shown that like torturing and scaring people like doesn't work in any interrogation.
Yeah,
But
to get actual reliable information.
there's a show, great show starring Andre Brower. It's called Homicide: Life on the Streets, and it takes place in I believe Baltimore. Yeah, Baltimore. And So it's about, cops doing, homicides, and like there's a great episode where Andre Brower, he's interrogating, and like his captain's like, oh, I need you to get him to admit he did the murder. And Andre Brower's like, he didn't do it. I know he didn't do it. Like, I the evidence doesn't point to him. And he's like, well, we gotta do that. So he does like these interrogation tactics, like, and makes the kid like have a mental breakdown, like in the middle of interrogation. He's like, I did it. I finally did it. And he goes, look, he admitted to it. I know for a fact he didn't do it. He's like, if you want me to interrogate him and get an answers you want, like I can do that. But if you want me to interrogate him and get like the truth out of him, you got to let me do my thing. You know what I mean? So like he gave this kid a mental breakdown just to prove that like, tough interrogation tactics don't work.
Yeah, exactly. They get a confession or they get information, but it's not anything accurate. I feel like if you watch enough of these true crime shows and stuff, you see that happen all the time, which is kind of scary. To think you could be taken in question for something that you didn't do and admit to it, because it happens enough. I mean, obviously, it could probably happen to any of us. Um, but anyway, I think that's what I got for that episode. Any other thoughts about Cloak of Darkness?
No, I just think it's like I think these like cliffhanger episodes are good. I think every episode, like, like I said in like the first podcast, people were like, "Oh, it doesn't bring the story of Clone Wars together," and I'm like, I've really liked seeing the day to day of like the Clone Wars, like these side quests and everything. When I play video games, like I like side quests better than the main quest sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've seen enough of the main quest through 9 movies.
So this next episode, Lair of Grievous. This was an amazing episode.
Uh,
So
the debut of Jedi Master Kit Fisto.
I know, which is there are some funny names in this one. But anyway, official description: General Grievous must prove himself worthy of the Separatists when Count Dooku leads Jedi Master Kit Fisto and his former Padawan, the Mon Calamari Jedi Nahdar Vebb, to Grievous's villainous enclave. So Kit Fisto, one name. Mon Calamari, like I feel like that was a I don't know. I'd like to see the
That's great.
background. Yeah, but to call the fish people calamari, I mean, I don't know. I feel like somebody phoned in that day. But anyway, this was an amazing episode. This might be my favorite episode to this point.
So the first thing when Nahdar Vebb shows up, like his first day as like a Jedi, when he shows up, he's like, oh, I passed the trials. I was like, he's gonna die.
Yeah, yeah, it was a shame because I liked him. I think they do a really good job a little later in the episode framing, because I feel like he looks. I don't know. You don't get the sense of how young he is. I guess since he's a Mon Calamari, so you don't have the human features to go by. But I feel like they do a really good job framing him when he is actually fighting Grievous, in that hallway at the end of the episode, right before he dies, and they do this sort of shot where you're sort of looking up from him and looking down from Grievous, and it shows him as like sort of young and weak, in a way we sort of don't see up to that point. So I thought it was really interesting. I guess the cinematography of it, like that he seems pretty powerful until that moment, and then right before he actually fights Grievous, they do this thing to make him look weaker and smaller and younger.
But
Um,
you kind of think like he passed his trials. That's sort of like when you finish medical school as a doctor and you pass your boards, but then you're a resident. Like he needs a residency before he goes to fight these things.
I don't know. Is it that, or is it when you're done that too? I think it's when you're like 100% ready to go, but you still don't have the years of experience.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like he's passed his trials. I just passed my trials, and they're like, yeah, go with him to hunt down Grievous, and you're like, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah,
Like that's like a first year doctor. Like, okay, go do heart surgery. And you're like, well, I still need my residency. Like, I still need to train. Like, even though they are training with their, you know, you know, master Jedi or Jedi Knight, like until they do their trials, like you still need more training, like and experience.
yeah. I don't know. I think this episode was a big. This was basically like a big Dungeons and Dragons module. Like, I mean, I really had that thought when they when the trap sprung, when they have the hologram of Nute Gunray, and then Count Dooku comes on, and then that hallway door opens up, and then it's like, oh, okay, we're starting through this dungeon now, and then
Right.
totally reinforced by when they fight that I don't know what the name of it is, that giant beast that they fight.
Yeah. Did
I guess
you?
it was like Grievous's dog. I don't know.
Yeah. Did you like the part like we talked about this a couple episodes back where you're like, I don't know why Grievous is in charge, and then they open that drawer and you see like all the Jedi like lightsabers and all the from and all like the trophies from the people he's killed.
Yeah, but again, I guess it goes back to the same discussion. Like this is what you said before, was that, I mean, he's a good warrior, but is he a good general? And then but then we
Right.
see even
He's
further here, he kills the young Jedi. He doesn't kill the old Master Jedi. So I mean, I think maybe he could have, but I wonder how many of those trophies are first day out of the trials Jedi, versus, there's no Obi-Wans, there's no Kit Fistos in that in that drawer there. Oh, and Gore was the name of his pet, which I feel like we get. And there's a lot of interesting things about Grievous in this, actually. One, with Gore, how upset he is. So we see that, I mean, he does have that humanity still there, because they killed his pet, basically. And then the scenes with the medical droid was interesting, where he says, like, oh, I don't know why you submit it to the modifications, which I feel like, just there's always this sort of darker sense of, like, whether what happened with and to Grievous, like,
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Like
yeah, like, sort of how, how much of it's his choice, how much of it was put on him, sort of how much it's to make him stronger versus some just you know darker idea about these modifications to him, and his medic droid sort of, you know makes him a little bit uncomfortable, and then Grievous is like, why, I wanted all this, and I don't know if that's true,
yeah,
and then you see him in pain too when he's operating on him, because I'm assuming, I don't know, because when he takes his faceplate off, like, because there is some biological material in there, right? Like, is that where the
right.
remainder of his biological material is, like, under his helmet?
Yeah, it's like his organs and his like face and brain and stuff like that. But yeah, it is like that conversation, like you kind of feel bad for Grievous there, like he's like, oh, it was my decision, but it seemed like he was definitely tricked into getting the modifications. But I think the whole room was kind of cool where they had all the spare parts because like they knew he was going to be broken down and stuff like that. But why would you keep pain sensors like on your body parts?
Because, I mean, maybe that's just the remainder of his biological material that had just isn't, still has those, and maybe there's no way to get rid of that, because it seems like if you hurt the rest of his body, it's fine. I also liked, I mean, this gives you a little more about Grievous too, in that, I mean, the way his medic droid talks to him, and I guess I don't know if he has respect for his medic droid, or he just I don't know, they're friendly, so he's fine with that. But I mean, the medic droid is like, just talk shit to him the whole episode, like, oh, if you were a better fighter, I wouldn't have to keep doing this.
Yeah, but I mean this in the movies you see General Grievous and he kind of like you're like, oh, okay, he's just a general and he keeps escaping and he fights a Jedi, which is real dumb. But then bringing depth to a character that was one dimensional through all these episodes is great story writing. I think storytelling.
Yeah, I have a feeling Grievous is going to be one of my favorite characters by the end of this, because I think there is a lot to him. But then it shows you too, which is interesting, is just how little Count Dooku cares about him. I mean, the fact that he would set this ambush for him. I don't get the sense that they were too worried if he, if the Jedi killed him, fine, then they can move on. If he killed the Jedi, fine, that gives them some confidence back. I don't think they were too worried about the outcome. I guess in a sense, this was the worst outcome, because Grievous is still alive and he didn't really accomplish the mission either. So they're sort of at the same place where Grievous is kind of a failure a little bit.
Well,
Um,
Dooku and Sidious, they know like they don't need General Grievous. They just need everybody to, their master plan like it they have to take over the empire. They have to dissolve the Senate. Like that's their master plan.
there's only someone to lead the army, so and I don't think they just I mean they say in the episode they don't have much confidence in Grievous, and so it's kind of a shame too. Again, this guy goes through all this, becomes this monster basically with body modifications, and then he might be nothing in the end if he totally loses the confidence of Sidious and Dooku. But I don't know. It was just an interesting dynamic.
And yeah, it I think you're right that this is definitely a he's testing Sidious is definitely testing these body modifications on other people before it gets to Anakin. Like he's Darth Vader 1.
Yeah, I didn't think that far ahead of it. I mean, maybe there was. Yeah, I'd be kind of curious looking at that more if there is some sort of plan that there's, to I mean, not only Anakin, but maybe to outfit other people with these modifications. I mean, you see how effective of a fighter it makes him to have 4 arms. I mean, I don't even know. Honestly, it always stresses me out whenever Grievous fights a Jedi, because I mean, not that I have any concept of that sort of martial ability, but like I just imagine, like, I mean, how do you focus on all 4 arms at the same time? It just stresses me out when I watch it.
Yeah, I mean, let alone 4 arms fighting. Like I don't even know how drummers do it. They have to use 2 arms and a foot. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's very difficult. So and so are you stressed out? Are you stressed out for the Jedi because he might die? Or are you stressed out for Grievous because he has to control 6 limbs?
No, I'm stressed out for the Jedi. I don't know. I guess I just put myself in that position of like, what would you even do? Like, how does this even work? But anyway, I think the big thing we learned from this episode is that um, the average drummer is 3/4 General Grievous, or one
The
half General Grievous if we count all 6 limbs.
wait,
Half a
the average
Grievous.
the average what?
The average drummer is
Oh,
half a
yeah,
is half a
yeah, he's
Grievous.
half a Grievous. Yeah, half Grievous. So I mean,
Um,
unless you have a double kick drum and then you have 2 feet, but
yeah, and also our when we start a band, our band name will be Half a Grievous. I don't really play any instruments, but
hey, I learned a D chord and an A chord this week.
it's probably about as much as I know of the guitar. I guess I did
Yeah,
play it for a couple of years, but it's been a long time.
yeah. So
But
not that I'm ever gonna be a guitarist, but I learned those things. So well, that's all I really have to say about these episodes.
yeah, me too. I mean, I think you guys look out for the first single from Half a Grievous and subscribe, which I feel like we should start saying earlier in the episodes, as I believe that is proven to work to add subscribers to your channel. Um, that's it for me.
So yeah, you can catch Whole Wheat Costa on YouTube where Kevin makes videos. You can catch us on Stitcher, Apple Podcast, and Spotify, and our homepage at Libsyn. So give us a listen. For Kev, I'm Jay. Thanks for listening to this week's Whole Wheat Costa.